When most people sit down to write their screenplay, they've got a really big story or idea in mind, but they don't really think about the character. A lot of people like to jam characters into a story that they've already developed and thought about beginning, middle, and end. When you write a good screenplay with a good character, the story should be developed out of decisions that the character makes rather than just being forced into plot points and beats that you want to have along a line that you've already created. So what do I mean by that? When you have like a concept, I'm sitting next to a pool, so I'm thinking about something like an evil pool that when somebody swims in it, the darkest parts of their imagination come to life. Now, it's a really cool concept, but without any great characters to live inside this world that we're building, this is just a cool concept that maybe is great for a short film or something like that. But if you want to make a feature film, after you come up with that cool concept, you're going to need to think of a character that could maybe fit into that concept and then develop all of the story that comes out of that character related to the concept that you have. Let me back up a little bit more here and talk about how that works. So we have the evil pool. Let's come up with a new character. Maybe it's somebody who just lost their job. So they have time and they're trying to figure out the next part of their life. They know that if they stay where they're at, it equals death to them. They're all their dreams, all their ambitions, everything they've ever dreamt of for their future disappears. So they're going to go take a swim and it's going to be relaxing. And that's where they're going to come up with the next phase of their life. Now, if I had just said, okay, let's have a character that's going to jump in a pool and go mad, and then we're going to have all this crazy stuff happen, we probably wouldn't care much about the movie or the character. But if that person is somebody that we know by the end of the movie is going to have realized their dreams, they're going to become the person that they want to be, they're going to figure out all of the things that are keeping them from realizing their dreams and things like that, that starts to be a cool story that we can then use the pool to get them from that point A to point B. And every decision on that line should come out of the character making choices that are going to lead them to that final point where they finally realize who they are. So if we have a character who's lost their job, maybe they finally realize that that job that they had was shit to begin with, has nothing to do with their dreams. It was actually preventing them from realizing their dreams because they were spending so much time with that job. Every decision that we make from that point needs to be forcing them to want to go back to that place where they started. So they want to keep going back to this, oh, I got to get this job. I got to get my job back, or I got to get a new job like that so I can make more money. But instead, as they go along, even though we're forcing decision after decision to make them want to go back to this place of comfort, this place of stasis, everything that happens along that line is actually changing them in a way, giving them new knowledge, giving them new understanding of themselves. So it makes it impossible for them to go back. Now, this kind of leads to a very easy way to write the story then, is if every decision that the character is making along that line is going to get them from point A to point B. Now, this evil pool idea, everything that's happening around them should be something related to the character and how that character is going to be taught lessons and make choices that, again, will take them from A to B and create the change in that character that we want. When you start thinking about things like that, it opens up your scripts in a new way where you're no longer forcing a character into a story. You're creating a story out of the character's decisions. Again, this was just an improv with the pool thing, so I'm not really developing the story in real time here. But the first thing someone like this would probably have to do is they would see somebody that swims in the pool and starts to act a little funny, but maybe it was somebody that they were aspiring to be, and then they see the madness that comes out of this person, and it forces them to start rethinking that job that they lost, the thing that they lost, as a good thing, rather than this thing that's like preventing them from being the person they want to be. Every decision that our character makes is what is going to create the plot points along the line. Understanding character within story creation and thinking less about what cool story I can tell and how I can jam a character into that, and thinking more about how character and story are related to each other, and how every beat along the line of our story is created by the decisions our character makes, will make every screenplay we write exponentially better. So I think this is a good introduction to character, and I think it'll get you thinking about how character is more important than the story that you're so excited about telling. After you come up with that really cool concept, start thinking about what character can fit into that story, and then how that character and their decisions will create the actual beats for the story that you're wanting to tell. This is a good way to make sure that you don't get lost in the middle of your script, and it's a good way to make sure that when you have a script that's finished, it's not just a story without any character. Because the worst note you can ever get on a screenplay is really cool concept, but I don't care about anybody in the movie. And if you think about character first and think about how they're going to go from this place of stasis to a place of change. And a lot of times we say the place of change is embodying the theme of the movie. When they figure that out, and when you figure that out, you will have a great screenplay. So please like, subscribe, and comment, and share this video, and let's keep writing together.